I'll just say this. I've, spoken with mutual friends, and, you and I have worked together, I think once or twice, and we've met. But in speaking, there's something about when you're on the job. I've just heard that people feel a peace. They feel, I was talking to a mutual friend of ours, and she just said when she works with you, you're always calm. And there's kind of a quiet, what's that?
That's very good to hear.
Yeah. And and maybe it's like, maybe you don't even feel that, but it's like, that's what people feel. And she used these words, quiet authority. And just in how you run things when you're on the job, or when you're running the show. And so I was just, in hearing that, and I definitely felt that, when we worked together. And, this was years ago, and I was still a newer model, and I was like, oh, what am I doing? And it was just, there was a piece there, and so can you talk about that, and talk about, what does it mean for you to have, is that because of your faith, or, is that something that was developed over the years? And, you mentioned earlier, this kind of COVID exposed, you are a self-professed workaholic, and it kind of calmed you down and reminded you of what matters. So maybe talk about, your personal faith journey, and if that is what brings you peace and allows you to not have to struggle with all these things that celebrity or being in this arena comes with.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's actually a good question. Of course, I am a very peaceful character in general. I take it from my dad. His mom is the contrary. Is a very she's half French, half Southern Italian. Like, she's a warrior. My dad is like, whatever, let the world come down. We're at peace. So I took it from him, but also had to learn to be at peace and develop like an internal peace, regardless what my activity was. And that didn't come right away. Come with, the more I grew up, the more that part of me started like taking over, and it's a beautiful part. And I realized, to be honest with you, in the beginning, when I started working in fashion, I thought like, oh, maybe, I see everybody in these industries like is a go-getter, Like fired up, and they jump on activity, they jump on connections. And I was always like, all right, sure. I mean, like, because for me, just the fact of like using people primarily for work reason didn't sound right. I come from a missionary family, and we work my parents were the keeper of this evangelical center in Tuscany. We grew up with people around coming for youth camps and meetings and and church events, and we grew up with that, and so like was in our family was normal to stop all your activity and just like take time because a visitor came to see you. Someone from, brother or sister from another church or whatever, people that came to see you. So you take a break and spend time with them because that's what's important. And I did bring that part of my youth into anything I've done. So my like, how do you say, my most important thing was to feel good with people, regardless what the job was. I wanted to leave a good smell behind. So that people, after they work with me, let it be a small thing or a show, whatever, they can say like, wow, we had such a good time with Giorgio, and that for me was very important. So make them feel at ease. And I know that the person you spoke with has the same she has the same intention as well. She really takes care of the models and everything. And I think that's a beautiful thing in an industry where people are used and abused and thrown away, and they're not useful anymore. So I thought that could be a good way to make a difference. On the other hand, I didn't study fashion. It wasn't a plan for me to do that. I come from music. So, and in music, you collaborate with people that you feel empathy with.
Okay.
and you're just like, with music, you take your time to develop something nice, something beautiful.
Yep.
Fashion just happened, but I did bring those kind of dynamics in my work with fashion as well.
Wow.
So for me, it was like, let's make it a beautiful moment. Let's have a good time. And of course, it's work, but it's like, let's make it memorable.
Yeah.
And so that plus my faith, of course,
right.
had a major role in all this because, as I said, I did want to leave a good memory behind. And so hearing people that say like, we work with Giorgio, it was great. We have been to whatever, we travel with him, was fantastic. For me, that was my personal testimony more than any other things that I could have done.
Wow.
We had many models coming to my house here in Tuscany. Actually, everybody has been passing through. I don't know if did you come?
I didn't have the chance. No, we worked together in Milan.
Right.
Marco Marezza.
But yeah, correct. But there was always like, especially in spring, summer, because this is such a beautiful region. We're not too far from the seaside. So always there was like weekends where models, a group of models would come to spend the weekend. And they would just come to my house. My family are wine producers, so they would taste the wine and just live the Tuscan experience. And then my mom is a fantastic, how do you say? She has this
a cook.
Evangelize. No, she's like she evangelizator. How do you say that?
Evangelist.
Yeah, she's a fantastic evangelist.
Wow.
So all of them had to sit at some point and hear
about the gospel.
Exactly. An incredible amount of models, photographers, stylists have come through and heard. But they felt comfortable. They said like, Giorgio, absolutely, we love your family. We will come anytime. So I think that's in an industry that is opposed to anything that is of religious, that is normal, that is traditional, that is like too much into the box, because the whole point fashion industry is to think out of the box, to be different, and to be on the contrary of the mainstream opinion. So religion smells and stinks, for a lot of like people. But it was good to just like kind of like bring down that cliche and say like, what? No, like religion, like the real religion is actually a peaceful, beautiful state of mind that can put at peace yourself and the people around you.
Amen. And it's kind of this idea of, sharing Jesus and his love without, saying the explicit gospel or reading the Bible. It's like, and it's so beautiful, Giorgio, because I've heard this quote, you probably have too, but you may be the only Bible that someone will ever read.
True.
And you may be the only follower of Christ that gets to interact with certain people. And
True.
So for you to, and it's like, Jesus says, it's peace I give to you, my peace I leave with you. In this world, you'll have trouble and tribulation, but, take heart, I have overcome the world. And so it's like, do we believe that? Do we live that? Can you, like you were saying, despite anything going around in your situation, do I have inner peace? Do I really believe that Jesus, the Holy Spirit, lives inside of me? The God of the universe chose to dwell in me. And how should that, rubber hit the road? Right. And so that's beautiful. Yeah.
For us Italians, that's also a strong point that helped me in my work, in my journey through the fashion industry. For us Italians, it's normal to be the only Christians or evangelicals, in whatever setting you are.
Wow.
When I was in college, I was the only evangelical there. And since you've been in Italy, this is a Christian country where there is more, where Christianity is more nominal than actually real. Right. So people call themselves Christians, but there is not, from there to live an actual Christian faith is a whole different story. Right. And in a lot of growing up, I was always the only one promoting certain type of principles or a certain type of life. And I remember my parents said you'll always be different.
Yeah. Wow.
Either you make peace with it and accept your uniqueness as a Christian, not as a person, but like the fact that you as a follower of Christ, you always make different decisions. You will always make, think differently. And either you learn to live with it and also leave the confrontation with other people about it, or you always have struggles. And I think that was for me. So for me, stepping into the fashion industry and having people that also come to you with confronting your opinions and principles and belief in a very strong way was nothing different than what I've experienced since I was 13, 12, 11, whatever, from elementary school all the way up. It always happened. So for me was nothing different. And I guess that made it a bit more easier to be part of this industry.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, while we're there, let's talk about, we talked earlier about killing stereotypes. And, we're just talking, I guess maybe more in particular in America, in the US, there's kind of this stereotype like Christians can't work in fashion. And that's one we talked about earlier. You love to just like pop the hole in. And so can you talk about how, and you kind of hit on a lot of that, but just especially in the US, it's kind of like, it seems like oil and water, fashion and Jesus, especially in America. So maybe talk about that and how you've been working in fashion for years as a believer, and a lot of believers also working in fashion. So maybe talk a little bit about how, there is an intersection between fashion and Jesus, and, Christians should try and, if they feel called, right, work in fashion.
Yeah, that confrontation for me started actually already on a different subject, because when I was living in Nashville, and my often Christians would ask me, so what do your parents do? And I'm like, well, they're missionaries. My dad is the pastor of a church. Great. And what is are they full-time, or do they have also a secular job? And I'm like, one time I said, yeah, he's a wine producer. And I've seen like eyes like popping up like, what? He does what?
No.
And I figure that, you cannot be Christian and drink wine already, but being Christian and producing wine is the ultimate sin ever. But I know it's changed in the States. But at that time, it was like quite a joke for me to say, yeah, my dad is a pastor of a church and wine producer. And some people were shocked. Yeah. So that was the first step.
Just offended.
Trying to explain another Christian that works, in fashion. But I grew up in a Christian environment, and I grew up in an evangelical center. All my friends were evangelicals. I was always surrounded by youth camps and events. And when I started growing up, at some point, I was like, you know what? I need to step out of this bubble.
Wow.
Not because it's not beautiful. It is beautiful, but it doesn't seem real to me. And I thought like, because I started questioning my faith, as in, I seem to live in a small, perfect world where everybody is like perfect. There is no big things happening, no big sins, and everybody's love each other. But it's like, and I started questioning, so exactly what Jesus came to do for me. Because if this is what we should be saved from, it doesn't look so bad. I don't think Jesus was supposed to die for this. And I really desired to go out and be confronted with the world. It really was like, this is a bubble that doesn't fit. And also because I'm an artist, I'm a creative, I'm curious. And I don't like stereotypes. I don't like things that are always the same. So it was a magnet that like brought me out of like this bubble into experiencing what the world is, because that helped me. That was important for me. It was important to make faith stronger and understand what was I saved from? Why did Jesus had to die? If this is all that So working in fashion which was kind of a push, but it came naturally. I didn't look for it. I really did not look for it.